Well, lots of things are up, but I mean, I'm above them all. So yeah, that's what's going on. Yes, sir.
And we also got Josh. How you doing out there, Josh?
I am good as always. Glad to be here.
Great, awesome to see you. We also got Super Nerd Plus, and we got Eric Joseph from We Got This Covered. What's up?
Hey, hey.
Glad
Hi.
to see you. Glad to see you. Glad to see you.
I'm live from the living room
Guys.
this week, so the show's on tour. And did GQ say he was above the law?
No, I said lots of things are up, but I'm above them all. So
I
yes,
thought you said above the law, because I was going to say, if you're above the law, then I'll be hard to kill.
there you go.
Someone else can be out for
A
judge.
nice Steven Seagal reset.
Nice.
I love that. That was
Exactly.
very nice. That was well done. Well done. So anyway, guys,
Kudos. And I'll give you 2 likes for that one.
Right, a whole bunch of likes for that. That was really good, really good. So anyway, guys, we got a lot to talk about, but let's go ahead and let's start with some news of the day. The news of the nation today. Out today in Gameland, we got Lawbreakers dropped today, and Lawbreakers has some issues, right, Josh? What's up with that?
Yeah, so there was a couple issues with a couple games actually, but Lawbreakers apparently, according to the developers, is having some what they call hitching. So on PS4, it's getting quite a bit of stuttering, basically during heavy gameplay. They were saying during some 1v1 play, the frame rate can drop as low as between like 39 and 30 frames per second from the so-called silky smooth 60 frames per second that it was running at normally. But yeah, they were saying that you can get freezes for up to about 316 milliseconds in the most strenuous testing that they did. So apparently the PC did not suffer from some of the same consequences. So again, I'm sure some of our PC Master Race fans would agree that PC is the way to go if you're going to look to pick up Lawbreakers for sure.
Question: Who made Lawbreakers?
The developer, its developer was Boss Key Productions.
So it's an indie title.
Yeah, it's more of an indie title. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily expect something like this from somebody like.
I thought you were gonna say LJN.
It was actually LJN, right? Like an old active title. EA, but like EA, like Montreal or something. Right. No, yeah, I've never heard of Boss Key, so I mean, obviously they must be a newer upstart, but also I had never heard of Code Red before The Witcher 3, and they are legit. So I don't necessarily think that this is an indication, and it sounds like they're already taking some steps to resolve it. So it's kind of unfortunate for them that it happens right at launch. That's going to be a big
and that's why I asked. I mean, it's like, okay, for example, like I said, if EA did this, I'd give them hell all day long. But I mean, it's probably this, the studio's first, major insane release, going across all these platforms. So I get that. I mean, things happen. So I'm not going to ride them as hard as I would if it was like an EA or a BioWare or one of those companies.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it as well. So we'll have to see if that game suffers any consequences in terms of sales because of that. But I haven't seen any sales figures or anything. Obviously, it's first day of release, but there was a couple other releases as well.
That's the word. One of them being Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And this game is interesting from the standpoint that it's the spiritual successor, supposedly, of the PS3 game Heavenly Sword, made by who was it? Was Ninja Theory? I think the name of the developer was. But what makes this one pretty interesting, other than being a very gorgeous game, is that supposedly it has like a permadeath feature in that. Where, well, you explain, Josh. What's permadeath all about, supposedly?
Yeah, so the general gist of the permadeath thing was the idea that the game would, in the long vein of games like Dark Souls 3, that punishes you over and over and over again with just endless death. The game was supposed to have a permadeath feature that essentially punished you by erasing save data if you suffered too many deaths in the game. but apparently rumor has it that the game may not actually have that feature. So
what?
Yeah, so it was a pretty big talking point. In fact, when we were talking pre-show, I knew about the game. I had seen some screenshots of it. I knew that it was the spiritual successor to Heaven's Blade, or Heaven's Sword. But the thing that I didn't realize was that it was also the same game that had this permadeath feature that I kept hearing about this game that was having this feature. So I didn't put the two and two together. But apparently, Forbes, actually, of all people, had released an article saying that that they tried to essentially break this feature by continuously dying over and over and over again. And people were mad that it wasn't like an optional feature, like an ultra hard mode. But even on the hardest difficulty, they died over and over and over again, and it didn't seem to have any effect on the game, much less deleting save data. So they said with the limited testing that they were able to do, with obviously it being the first day of release, I don't know if they got a review copy or anything like that, but they said that they could not force the feature, and they did try. And then apparently the game has a mechanic where the primary character has like this black rot on her hand that consumes you as the game goes on. They said that that also didn't become worse the more she died, so it didn't seem to be punishing them in any significant way. So
GQ,
sounds like it's
seems to be
a
like
bluff.
right up your alley. This type of game.
Which one?
Because it's the Hellblade. Because it seems to be so extremely hard. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, I love hard. I love challenging. Dadakuji actually put me up on this other game, what kind of more of an old school one. Forgot the exact title of it. I think Cristania or something was in the title. But I like a game to actually have, some difficulty and some challenge, because you get your money's worth out of it. I'm getting tired of the current generation of games where you turn the game on, the first level is all tutorial, all dirt simple, easy. It's like, I don't mind being taught how to play the game, but don't make the first level a cakewalk to the point of like, why are you even putting me through this? Let me get in there and figure stuff out. I think that's kind of part of the reason I've always liked God of War. As simplistic as God of War is, it kind of just, in the first one, they kind of threw you into the fire, like, get to it and start killing things. So I'm going to probably say that this game would be one that I would look forward to. I don't know when I'm going to get around to playing it, because almost like the great Dadakuji, I'm building up a ridiculous backlog of stuff I haven't played. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, also out today is Batman Telltale Season 2. I played Season 1. I liked it. I'm looking forward to playing Season 2. What's that, Super Nerd? You looking forward to playing
love that game. I love everything the Telltale puts out. Like all the Walking Dead, even, and I can't wait because part 2 of Wolf Among Us is coming out too as well, and season 4 of The Walking Dead, or part 4, or whatever how you want to call it. Like, I play those games. I don't really play games like that. Don't get me wrong, I do play video games, but when it comes to Telltale stuff, I get it and I just play right through it. Like, I put hours into that game and those games in general.
Okay. Did you play Guardians of the Galaxy? I never got around to playing that.
I didn't get it kind of came out. I didn't know it even came out. I was like, damn, they just dropped this. I think they probably just dropped that because they're probably waiting for the other big titles that's coming out later on, which is the Batman. Because when I saw it, I said, damn, when did they come out with this? So I didn't pick that up. I'm kind of skeptical about that, but I'm gonna check it out though.
Okay. How about this? The other game that came, or not a game, it's actually a DVD that came out today as well, is King Arthur. Now, I know a lot of people. This came out same time that, I think, around the same time that Logan did, and it kind of really didn't get a lot of real big publicity, or wasn't really well received. Would you buy it on GQ? I know you buy a lot of Blu-rays and stuff like that. Are you going to put it in your collection?
I'll probably end up getting this one later. It's not necessarily something that I was, clamoring to see. The marketing was bad on it, unfortunately. I think it suffered from that because a lot of people said the movie was good. So I mean, if the trailer doesn't draw people in like it's supposed to, or if they look at the trailer and they're confused by what it is that they're seeing, but everybody is saying that the movie is good, that means that the marketing team, fell down on their jobs on that one. So I mean, this one I have no real hype behind it. I'm actually looking forward to some of the other Blu-rays that are coming up. Guardians of the Galaxy actually comes out, and actually Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the first 4K Disney Marvel film that's going to be released. So I'll be getting that basically as soon as it comes out, which is last week of August.
Okay.
But
quick,
Arthur, I'm not really. Yeah.
Well, the piggyback on the King Arthur, I think if you are a Guy Ritchie fan, I think you know what you're getting into. So essentially, it may not get the praise that it should have gotten. If you've seen his previous work with Sherlock Holmes and the other stuff he did, I think as a fan, you would probably already know it. Yeah, I think he probably made it for that genre of people who's into his work. That's why it probably didn't get that huge push like it should have.
But here's the problem with that, though. I get that, and that's fine if you're filming a film that you could, shoot in, a couple of months and be done with, and then just everything else is editing. But if you're filming something like that movie, which has effects, has insane locations, tons of actors, extras, and all that, you got to go all out. I understand that he has a following, but from just which I don't know if it was Lionsgate that brought that out, or I forgot which company. But just for their, standards of, hey, we got to make money and we got to make our money back, they should have been like, look, I don't care what your quote unquote style is, we're going to market this so people come see this movie, regardless of him having a following. Because again, there's nothing wrong with having a following. I mean, Street Fighter V has a following, but I wouldn't say it's the most the most popular and best Street Fighter that there is right now. It's great that it has a following, but is that enough to sustain the product and the brand? Right. So I think in that regard, it's like, it's cool to have your peeps and your fans, but unless again, The Rock could probably get away with something like that right about now, but it's like, it's still not a good idea. It's like, you can bank on, yes, he's got a rep, but you need more than that, and somebody's got a cricket in their house.
Probably
it's Super Nerd. That's got to be you.
Oh, I got my window open. I got my window open.
Yes.
I thought it was a sound effect at first. Like who's got the cricket sound effect for fun?
Oh, that was awesome. That was so awesome.
With the live action.
It's funny because we're picking up the audio from the cricket better than the audio from Super Nerd. So
right.
Well, my headset, my phone's up.
Right. You know what?
Yeah,
go ahead, Eric.
With Chris saying how Guardians is going to be probably the first of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies to get a day-and-date 4K release. I don't know if on the animated side, if this was done with Teen Titans the Judas Contract, but I believe Batman and Harley Quinn, which is out later this month, the next DC animated movie, I think that is actually getting a 4K release. So I don't know how much sharper cartoons can look.
Actually, believe it or not, but it depends. It depends on if it's hand drawn or if it's computer generated. But like, for example, one of the ones that they always used to show as a comparison at a lot of video stores was Chicken Little, I think it was, and showing the difference between Blu-ray and DVD on that one. So animation can actually look insanely good in 4K, again, if done right.
Yeah, because superhero animated movies tend to be a blend of both.
Right.
Interestingly enough, not to get too off track, but today CBR unveiled exclusively, but with no release date, that Justice League: The New Frontier is getting a commemorative re-release with new bonus features on DVD, digital HD, Blu-ray. Not sure about 4K, but if I were to guess, it's probably coming around the time of the Justice League movie in November, because why else would they be announcing it now? But absolutely. I don't know, from here, it would matter what those features are, but that was a hell of an anime.
I mean, aren't we getting something with the 10th anniversary collection from DC Animated? I mean, what? I don't see the need for them to release both of them.
The entire movie collection, like I heard, isn't that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't understand why they would be doing both simultaneously.
Not everyone's gonna drop the cash for a 30 movie Blu-ray.
That's true.
This is quite true. This is quite true.
Very true.
Yeah, because what's the? Do they have an estimated total on that yet, or they haven't said?
I'm not sure
on it. I've looked. I'll check Amazon and see if they got.
Get to the research. Let's move on to the next thing. The next thing we got talking about is movies that are in the theater right now, and one that took the top spot but didn't do as well as we thought it was gonna do was The Dark Tower. Josh, you and I, we went to go see it early. We liked it. We thought it was a good movie, but what happened here?
I mean, I honestly can't say. I enjoyed the film. It wasn't a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we went and saw it with Big Kahuna, and we went and saw it with Dido, and we all seem to enjoy it. I think it's a fun film. I mean, I think you get into dicey territory for a couple of reasons. So this movie has a couple things working against it. One is it wasn't a complete adaptation of the early novels. They kind of jump in my understanding, because I haven't read all of the novels, but they kind of jump in near the end of the mythology. They're kind of like wrapping it up as a starting point, because I think they wanted to kind of, shoot it right out of the gate. They wanted to go for broke, so that if they're going to try and start off, some type of cinematic universe, which seems to be the way to go, that it definitely should have, you get all the visuals out there, you get all that universe out there, you get all your mythology out there, and you get people interested in it. You can't just give people a taste of something as broad and as vast as this Dark Tower universe. And but I can't say. I mean, it didn't do spectacular critically. In fact, critically,
well, hold on. People in the chat are asking to quantify it. What rating would you give it on a scale?
On a scale, I'd say it's a solid 7. I mean, it's like I said, it's not a masterpiece. I mean, I would say maybe as low as a 6, but probably no higher than a good 7. It's a solid action fantasy. I mean, I will say this: Idris Elba was great. The acting was really top notch. It really was. Idris Elba was excellent. Matthew McConaughey was great. The kid who played Jake was really well acted. Had Lagatha from Vikings in it. She and her bit part did a really good job.
Okay, here's my question though, and I gotta ask: how much did the trailer give away, and how much was in the theater like, wow, that's really cool, or was it just following the trailer?
Yeah, I mean, there was some good parts. Ken can back me up on this. I mean, they do give away some of the kind of money shots in the trailer, but I mean, that's to be expected, unfortunately, from just modern trailers in 2017. But there was some really awesome stuff that you didn't see in the trailer. There was some really cool stuff. There was actually quite a bit of humor in it. It had an unexpected amount of humor, because they're kind of playing the whole man out of time, or well, not man out of time, but kind of man out of his element thing with both Jake in Midworld and then Idris Elba in Keystone Earth, which is our Earth.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that the movie did well. I think. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I read the comic books and they were boring as shit. And Marvel put those books out too.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? I got a question actually that comes from YouTube. Viewer by the name of Black Rampage. I freaking love that name. But Josh, he wants to know, how did the critics like Dark Tower?
Yeah, I mean, it was not critically loved. I think its RT score was pretty low. I want to say it was like in the 30s. It might have been slightly higher, but let me get that.
I think it might be lower than that, because
I think it might be.
I've yet to see it, and I know you guys gave it positive feedback, but word of mouth,
18%.
18%.
Word of mouth counts for a lot these days, and people pay attention to that tomato meter more than they want to admit. But it's going to have to get some positive feedback from people on social media. But even though it was #1, its gross wasn't that promising. And I think, isn't Annabelle Creation out this weekend? So if so, that's some stiff competition, because
oh gosh,
right.
Although the first Annabelle movie was fucking awful, but
this one has an 83% Rotten Tomato score already. Annabelle Creation. So yeah. I mean, the movie's good, and it's already got that horror fan base built in from The Conjuring. I mean,
Yeah, it's got the Conjuring universe thing behind it, because although I hated the first Annabelle movie, you couldn't get more by the numbers with it. There was like one real good scare in it and one scene that would have worked better in a video game. But I don't know, the trailer for Annabelle Creation is very promising. It just, but trailers can mislead. So
here's my take on it, and here's what I thought may have been part of the issue with Dark Tower. Besides the whole, people being mad that Idris was cast as the main character instead of another white actor or something like that. I think the problem is you're running into, and Idris obviously has been a leading man in England, but you're running into the problem of this movie was the, parade of the supporting actors. And I'm just going to say it that way because McConaughey, love the dude, is more of a supporting role type of guy than he is a leading villain, leading man type guy. Idris, as great as he is as an actor, is usually better in a supporting role for a lot of the stuff. So I think that was part of the issue with this film. It's like, I don't know. It's like, yes, I can buy Idris as an action guy. Yes, I can buy McConaughey as a villain. But why, especially when there's no other competition around, that this movie, flops so hard?
Right.
Well, I mean, I will say it's a little bit weird to call a movie a flop that's got the #1 spot at the box office. Yeah, obviously it didn't do as well as people expected it to do. It made $19.2 million in its first weekend.
Okay, hold on now.
Way lower than expected.
Exactly, because look at that. 19 million, granted, I would love to have $19 million right now. That'd be great. But a movie, and let's be honest, because this is still in the summer. We're still at the tail end of summer right now. This is still a quote unquote summer film. No summer film, especially when there's nothing else coming out that weekend, should hit that low. Especially with something like that. That's an action film. People love action. So that's like Guardians coming out and making less than 50.
Yeah, I will say this. There's a few things that this movie does have going for it, regardless of the fact that it didn't blow away the box office and the fact that it does have some stiff competition coming up. So one thing is its foreign release so far has only made about $9 million, but it is only released in 7 foreign countries so far. If it hits China and it does even half as well as it did in America and then a few other locales, it's probably going to do really well for itself once it hits a Blu-ray release, because its production budget was $60 million. It's already made half of that. So
gotta factor in advertising, though. Gotta factor in advertising. So
this is true. I will say this, a lot of people did not know this movie was coming out because they didn't advertise very heavily for this. So I can't imagine its advertising budget is going to be enough to put this thing in the black when it's all, or in the red rather, when it's all said and done. I mean, like I said, I hope it does well. I thought it was an enjoyable movie. And as far as the RT is concerned, yeah, War of the Planet Apes has a 93% rating. That movie made $6.2 million this last weekend, and it's overall, it's
but
overall.
In all fairness, that movie franchise, the way it's done now, is immaculate. It's better than probably any Planet of the Apes film ever made. Period.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure, but it's also not making insane bank. It's made $300 million in over almost 2.5-3 months. That's chump change for a movie that
by the standard, yes, that's very weak. But Dark Tower had zero competition when it came out.
Right. No, you're absolutely right on that.
That's like you're literally walking in and there's like 30 people in the theater when you go in. That's not a good look on your first weekend.
Right.
20. So they
I mean, the
20
only
million?
thing I'll say is there seems to be this really strange dichotomy between obviously what the critics are saying about movies. This is something that we could talk about at length. Yeah. So, we won't go crazy about it. But I say this, I mean, you got movies like Detroit has an 86% rating. Atomic Blonde has a 76% rating. Homecoming has a 92% rating. And that movie's doing worse than Spider-Man 2 from Tobey Maguire in the same amount of time. I mean, this summer does seem like there's a lull in what otherwise should be significant movies. And then you have movies like Girls Trip, which no one saw that movie making a lot of money and actually kind of blew it out. Like, it's doing really, really well for what is essentially a small release.
Girls Trip is another Titanic syndrome. That's all you got to say.
All I gotta say is that movie made almost 100 million worldwide so far on
Oh,
a
I know.
production budget of 20. That
Oh, I
movie
know.
is
Again,
bank.
it's Titanic syndrome. Women are dragging their boyfriends to go see that movie with them.
Yeah.
So
Wait, are you denying the red hot star power of Queen Latifah, Chris?
I deny all style power of certain actors and actresses. That movie is making money because guys are getting dragged to the theater to go see that
numerous
movie
times.
Yeah.
Well, when me and Ken went and saw it after The Dark Tower, there was tons of just guys in there.
Stop it. We did not go and go see that film. Anyway, this might be considered basically the black women's version of what was that? The
Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids, and what was the male version of Bridesmaids?
The Hangover.
The Hangover.
Oh,
Yeah, this is basically their version of that. So anyway, let's move on. We've covered this. We spent a lot of time. We want to get to our main topic soon. I'll hit you with one more piece of news that we want to get to. Everybody knows about Game of Thrones, that it did really well. Seemingly impervious to the HBO leaks. Fantastic episode. We won't cover that. Let's talk about something that's going to be fantastically talked about. Hopefully. And this touches the GQ's thing. James Bond is back. Specifically, Daniel Craig is back as James Bond for 2 more films. Who saw that coming when we all thought that he was pretty much done with the role? What do you guys?
We'll see about that? I said we'll see because wasn't the story broke by a UK tabloid, and they're not always sharp on these things. Don't forget, about a week or 2 ago, one tabloid, The Mirror, said that the next film was based on one of the novels by Raymond Benson.
True, and that was debunked. That was debunked. But I'll say this.
They said they spoke with Benson, and he said it never happened.
That part is true. But what was confirmed today by the Showtime executive is that Daniel Craig is definitely back. And the rumor is also out there that the next film is going to be a remake of Her Majesty's Secret Service, which was, of course, George Lazenby's only appearance as James Bond when he filled in for Sean Connery after he retired. What do you think about the news of Daniel Craig being back, GQ? You happy?
I like Craig. I mean, dude does a very good job. He is, as we said on our episode of Game way back when, he is the Bond that will chase you down and beat you down.
Hell yeah.
No matter how far you think you can run, he's going to catch up to you. But I don't know. I mean, we'll obviously have to see if it's actually true, because I mean, he is one of the actors that has expressed, a little bit of not so much dislike with the role, but I think Daniel Craig is one of those actors that kind of is like more to himself, more reserved, more kind of a quiet life type guy. And obviously, you play James Bond. Damn it, you're in the spotlight for the rest of your life. So I think that may have been a little bit off-putting to him early on when he took on the role. But let's be honest. I mean, out of all the Bonds, with the exception of Timothy Dalton, he is the most ruthless Bond that we've had, and I'm very, very happy with that, because it's like, if you read the novels, Bond was a no-nonsense dude. He was basically an assassin more so than he was a debonair spy. So I mean, I like seeing that, you get this really rough and tumble like dude that's just gonna beat people down and get the job done and be dispassionate about it for the most part. So I mean, Dame Judi Dench's character, as M, her turn is done.
Done.
But Ray Fiennes fills in really nicely. So I mean, it's like it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it, if he is going to stay on for 2 more films, because obviously now they've started Spectre and everything with the last film, so see where they go.
Okay.
Yeah, Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of my favorite movies, and a parallel I could draw is that, okay, Sean Connery's James Bond did not know how to fight. And although Lazenby, most of it was probably a stunt man, I viewed that movie as the first shit kicker Bond. And Daniel Craig is very much that. But right now, I think we're at the stage until we get actual confirmations from Eon Entertainment, because especially they did set a date for November of 2019 for the next Bond film, so they're going to get rolling soon. But they haven't still found another studio that's going to help distribute the films along with MGM, because they had a multi-picture deal with Sony. But the bidding war is still going on, and then there's the rumors that Chris Nolan might be attached in some way. Right now, we're at that point, where there are so many rumors ahead of a Bond movie. It's like we might want to just wait to see what Eon has to say, but I think Craig's going to do one more because he is contracted for one more, but it would really surprise me if he did another one beyond that, because that would put him in Roger Moore territory, because Moore's final 2 films weren't part of his original contract. They just kept throwing more money at him. Right. And he just said, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." But
dude, Roger Moore was freaking terrible, dude. I hated him. I hated him as Bond, dude. Oh, I hated him.
I know this is Tadakuji, and they're bringing up the fact that Lazenby was the first Bond to actually be more of a spy than Sean Connery was as well. So yeah. I know he's saying that because he didn't just go around telling his name to everybody. So,
Black Rampage has one more question, and I wanted to go before we jump to our main topic. He's asking if we've seen The Defenders yet. Now, I thought The Defenders actually came out Friday. Am I wrong with that? If it's on Netflix, I'll just end the show now and start watching that. So
I don't think so. You know me, I'm the Netflix guru.
Right.
So I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, we haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. I
think August 26th.
Rumors and stuff. August 26th. I gotta wait that long.
I think August 26th. I think it's August 26th. I'm not sure. Let me double check.
August 18th.
August 18th. Okay, couple numbers out.
Okay. I still gotta wait that long. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway,
I'm gonna binge watch like I binge watch Voltron.
Oh man, Voltron. Oh man, the season 3 of Voltron was fantastic, dude. It was really
amazing,
good. Even though it was only 7 episodes, and I'm like starving for more. I can't wait for more to come out.
Defenders is only
out, right?
What's that, Kenshiro?
More is coming out.
I think October. Right? I think October, the other half of the season 3, or season 4, however you want to put it. But I think I read something that somebody was talking online, saying that they said that it's supposed to be 72 episodes altogether. I'm not sure if that's true or not. That's hearsay. So if it's true, because the original was ran like 52 episodes, I believe. 50-something episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Who knows? We'll see.
All right, guys. So it's time for the main event. I can't. I can't really do it like Bruce Buffer or even his more famous brother, Michael Buffer. I'm not nearly as good
for it. Get sued for it.
Yeah, I will get sued for it. You're right. So I'm glad I kind of left that part out. Anyway, so let's get to the main topic. Now, we know that last week Domino dropped out and Zazie Beetz is playing Domino. I thought she looked great. Some people were really upset. This week, Josh Brolin comes out, it reveals his Cable, and we think it's pretty dope. Other people don't think it's pretty dope. So I wanted to hit you guys up and find out what in the hell, like, why are people just so anal about their translations from comics to screen? Because let me give you as an aside, right? A lot of people thought that Spider-Man's costume wasn't good. They were mad because Tony Stark made it. I mean, he's a poor kid. He's not going to be able to make something like that. Or people are mad that Thor doesn't wear his helmet. But they're not necessarily super pissed that Cap doesn't have wings on his mask. I mean, come on. What's up with these? What's up with these irrational expectations of people or characters being converted from comics to screen? GQ, why don't you take a crack at it? What do you think?
People being people, the usual. People, unfortunately, always gotta complain or bitch about something. Let's just be real. I mean, I look at it this way. It's like if he looks similar to the comic book, fine, I'm good with that. I'm extremely harsh on female characters looking their part. I'm very harsh on male characters looking their part. Mm-hmm. I do not accept when, for example, Cable is like 6'8" or whatever, probably almost 300 pounds. You basically would have to get a wrestler to physically match what Cable looks like. That's what they've been saying for the longest, Kevin Nash and blah, blah, blah. The problem with that is Kevin Nash can't act to save his life. Period. Cable is a character that's going to need an actual actor behind all of that physical mass and bulk and all that other good stuff. That's the same reason I gave Gal Gadot as much hell as I gave her for playing Wonder Woman, because I don't care what her actual background is. She still does not strike me, and especially in that Justice League trailer, does not strike me as an Amazon warrior that goes into battle and is battle hardened and ready to fight. In all of those trailer shots, she looked like she was shocked and surprised that people were attacking her. So I don't like that. And again, that's a whole different conversation. People complaining about Josh Brolin, like the dude put in the gym time. He's already an accomplished actor. And Cable's original design was stupid as hell anyway, because it was back in the days when everybody had 15,000 patches.
Rob
yeah,
Liefeld, shoulder pads.
Everybody had a million patches and pouches and
and
ammo packs and
buckles, and belts and straps and all that shit.
Right, it's like you carry a plasma rifle that shoots energy at people. You sure as hell ain't carrying ammo and all of that, so you just got a whole bunch of meals ready to eat and crackers and cookies and whatnot stuffed in there because this looks stupid. So they stripped it down. They made it more tactical. They made it fit into the look and style that it works with that they're in right now. Because even Deadpool got rid of 1,000,001 patches that he used to wear.
Right.
So it fits with what they're doing.
Right.
People are going to complain because they don't think like that.
Absolutely.
I think part of the whole negativity of if people are, I mean, I haven't really seen a whole lot of comments of people really bitching about. I've seen a little bit of it, but it's like rule number one when they teach you Internet 101. The first rule is how to start a flame war on the internet is post an opinion.
My man.
Absolutely. It's just you can't put anything out there that you're not gonna offend somebody. I mean, the fact of the matter is I guarantee you. I mean, just remember how pissed people were when we got a blonde James Bond, right? We got a James Bond that had black hair. When we got, the guy from Knight's Tale as the Joker. You just,
people went bananas over that.
Yeah, I think that the fact of the matter is, I mean, even one of the reasons it was so hard to cast Superman again was because Christopher Reeve was so iconic in the Superman movie, and in that movie, the first and second movies were so beloved that it like broke people's expectation of what they wanted from Superman. They couldn't cast someone who fit that role, and then they eventually said, no, let's make him a really, really comic book accurate, muscled out guy.
Wouldn't you say that was kind of the flaw that kind of derailed Brandon Routh, is because they were so stringent on sticking to those Christopher Reeve versions, and that kind of derailed Superman Returns?
Basically,
other than Brian said,
yeah, absolutely.
No, I think it's that craptastic costume that they came up with. Man.
Well, I'm not going to
the swimmer's outfit.
With that burgundy cape and burgundy S, and it was a little small baby S, and it was, man.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Don't forget, never forget that movie was a critical darling.
Whatever. And the worst part, no, it was because we hadn't had Superman in so freaking long. People were starved for attention.
Starved for something. They were starved for something. They were willing to say.
I'm sorry, Superman, the creepy voyeur outside Lois's house when she's already married and got kids or a child. I don't want to hear that, dude. Superman,
that was weird.
Come on, dude.
That was weird as hell.
I know Superman is your boy, but dude, you guys, even Josh, you have to admit that was a little bit.
Super Stalker? Yeah, no. It was,
that was terrible.
That movie suffered from following the logical conclusion of Superman 2. Lois and Superman sleeping together.
Let me jump in before you say that. Real quick, this is what I will give that movie. It had some iconic, very kick-ass visuals and moments in that film, especially when he flew in to stop, the Gatling gun from shooting those cops. That was amazing.
That was pretty dope.
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
What? And then they cut away before Superman actually did anything to the gang. Hey, let's not have any real action. But I was gonna say before I'm gonna touch on Cable in a second. When we were talking about Super Stalker, all we needed was the deleted scene with like Superman going through Lois's dresser and like smelling clothing. Like
he did that?
No, he said.
But yeah, Cable. Okay, we talked about Domino a bit last week, and we can probably see arguments on both sides, no matter where you side that. Yeah, it wasn't 100% comic book accurate, so it's understandable some people are going to complain. But I thought Cable looked pretty spot on, just because it doesn't have 50 pouches. But I looked at it and I said, okay, yeah, that's recognizably Cable. And before the show, I was saying, anyone out there, go up and look at the concept art of Brad Pitt as Cable when they were trying to get him for the role. And it's nowhere close. It looks like something out of Terminator or whatever. But, as GQ said, they need an actor for this role, and Josh Brolin is the guy, especially because this is not the last time you're going to see Cable. He could be in Deadpool 3. He's going to be in X-Force. So Fox has big plans for him. So, like I just said, Brolin's the right guy. This is the right look. So, really, what's there to complain?
The shit is good as hell. Like,
as long as he's well too.
Wait, what was that?
I said as long as he's written well too.
I think they got that taken care of. Like I said, he looks the part, and the hairstyle is pretty hilarious. Actually, people was making fun of his hairstyle. So he had that Mickey Rourke look.
Right. Hey, you know what? Would people be bitching this bad if Stephen Lang was cast as Cable, or maybe even Tom Hardy? You think that would?
I think they'll complain.
Yes, they would.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to complain that Stephen Lang is too old, even though he played Cable in Avatar. So I mean, it's like,
right.
It's this again. People are going to complain no matter what you do. You could give them $50, and they'll be mad that you didn't give them $51. So I mean, it's like people are stupid. I'm sorry to say that, internet. Yes, all of you out there, some of y'all are dumb as hell. So I mean, that's just how things are, man. It's the truth of the world we live in.
Right. I mean, you just look at the Doctor Who controversy. Everyone that show's got such a rabid following, and it's like, oh, God forbid they make the Doctor a woman. Yeah. Someone who's reborn every few years, but people didn't like the fact that it came back as a woman. I understand some of the frustration. It's like, okay, it's like, why are we gonna? People are talking about, let's make James Bond a woman. His name is James Bond. You want to make another character that's in the MI6? You want to make her 009? Like, knock yourself out. But like, there's female 00 agents. Yep. Just make their story. Don't ride the coattails of 007.
Right.
Not only that,
and I can agree with that. I could totally agree with that.
I mean, let's look at the logistics of that. Like, could you imagine if they had a woman doing the same thing that James Bond does? They would talk about her being a whore from now until the cows come home. Double standard would be terrible.
Yeah, it would.
Bond expert. Bond beds an average of 3 women per movie. So if you had a female James Bond and she was doing 3 guys in one movie, I mean, you would not hear the end of it. It's like, oh, this is setting a bad example. If I ask if you do a female James Bond, and you're going to call her James, we're just talking out of our asses here. Just have the female actress and dub her with like Kevin Michael Richardson for every line.
Oh, Jesus, stop it.
Wow.
No, I mean, the funny thing is people have talked about that, and as much as what Chris said is right. Not only would she be like absolutely, well, now she'd be championed on the internet by feminists about like the progressiveness of her sexual tastes, but the fact of the matter is part of the allure of James Bond is that he is walking seduction for women. All women are walking seduction. Every one of them. Like, they don't need special powers to seduce men. They'd just be like, hey, you want to go to bed? Yeah, definitely.
Right, exactly. You're exactly right on that. It's like the line they used to say. It's like women want to be with him and men want to be him. It's never been situation where it's like, you got like because again, you cast a female James Bond. You're not going to cast any old regular looking. You're going to probably find one of the best looking women in movies today to be, Jamie Bond or whatever we're going to call her. So it's like, yes, guys are going to want to sleep with her. And Lena Smith brought up a good point. Probably women too. So I mean, it's like
they would, and she'd still be called a slut. As I was telling Lena, she'd still be called a slut.
Yeah, it would be men want to be with her, women can't stand her, women hate her guts. Like, is that's what happens?
It'd be crazy. So anyway, let's bring this back a little bit to the comic side of things. Let's bring it to a more recent example where where some of the outrage might be warranted. Let's talk about the Inhumans. The Inhumans is getting absolutely hammered right now from all sides, it seems like. I mean, because they didn't accurately translate Black Bolt to the screen. He doesn't have the mask, or he doesn't have the antenna. Lockjaw seemingly looks terrible. Gorgon doesn't really look like himself. Triton kind of doesn't. I mean, just all around, it just doesn't look very good. The director came out and said the trailer was bad. Now, so in cases of like the Inhumans, is the irrational expectations warranted because they missed they went so far off the mark?
No, because nobody has irrational expectations for the Inhumans because nobody knows who the Inhumans are. Cable's a long-established X-Men character. He appeared in not only we had Bishop, and I believe we had Cable in the X-Men animated. And the fact of the matter is, so people as far back as what, the 90s, the mid 90s, they have an expectation of what that character is supposed to look. Who are fans? People who aren't, what they're going to do is they're going to look up a Google image of what Cable looks like, and they're going to go, yeah, okay, that's close enough. I don't expect this guy to be 300 pounds of rippling muscle. No, they're going to take one look at Medusa, and they're going to go, that is the worst wig I have ever seen.
Ever.
And then they're going to look at Black Bolt, and they'd be like, who's this dude, bro? Who's this dude playing Black Bolt? Yeah, why isn't he talking? Because they don't know anything about the character.
I think here's what Inhumans is running into, because, again, I've never really been a fan of the books to begin with. Now, granted, I was never a fan of Guardians to begin with. Now, Guardians is a whole big time turnaround for me, because it's like, dude, they did a great job with this. But at the Inhumans, and as again, I could be 100% wrong on this, but I think the problem you have with TV, especially, you can't really get away with keeping characters in masks all the time. It looks stupid. It just does. There's a reason the Flash's costume basically is a hoodie, in the sense of you got to see the actor's face. You got to have time when he's just Barry or whatever. Same thing with Captain America. Half the time he has that that mask pulled down because, hey, we cast Chris Evans for a reason. Besides the fact that he fits the role perfectly, people want to see what see the dude's face. So I mean, it's like TV. It's like you have to understand. Yes, in the comic books they're drawn that way because, damn it, it's easier. I'm not going to draw like all this extra hair if I can just throw a mask on the dude and be good. For TV, it doesn't work that way. It's a whole different medium, and actors honestly want to be seen. I'm sorry, that's the give and take that you got to have with it.
Yeah, I'm here with Super Nerd Plus. I don't care about the Inhumans. They're like poor man's X-Men, who also happen to be published by Marvel. And in recent years, they've been really trying to push the Inhumans as trying to be like, I guess you could say, the New Mutants, not to be confused with the actual New Mutants at Marvel, because they were trying to snub X-Men and Fantastic Four and push properties that Disney had under their umbrella, but now they're not ignoring the X-Men anymore because they bring in so much money. But Marvel really was trying to push the Inhumans, but even when I would read something with Inhumans here and there, I just can't get into it. It doesn't matter if it was published today or 10 years ago or never, because recently I've been reading those thick trade paperbacks Marvel put out this year. I got sent a few, and I finally got around to reading them. The new Avengers, the complete collection from Brian Michael Bendis, and I just knocked down volume 2. And it's a fantastic trade paperback. It's from like around pre-Civil War, throughout Civil War, I think, leading up to Secret Invasion. Well, Secret Invasion's more so volume 3, which I'm about to start reading. But, it's a thick trade paperback, and it's hard to put down. It's a compelling read. But, every so often there's this issue that focuses on the Inhumans. And if there's the literary equivalent of a bathroom break, it's the issues that focus on the
That's pretty brutal, man.
No, it's the truth, though. I mean, because I've never... Black Bolt was probably the coolest person out the Inhumans, but their solo stuff, I just could not get into. It was just boring as shit.
Oh, My dude Prodigy in the Facebook chat basically equivalated. He put the equivalent of the Inhumans, said they are like a team of iron fists.
Right. No one
terrible,
gives
dude.
a shit.
Right.
That's terrible,
Exactly.
dude.
Miles,
Exactly.
that is, you are a savage.
That's
Yeah,
savage, dog.
I would
Tony
rather,
Young,
I would
Tony Young
rather
brought up something though in regards to the mask thing. He said it worked in the second Judge Dredd movie, and granted, it did. But Josh, your reply is 100% honest, exact of what I was about to say. Carl Urban was understanding enough to put aside his ego and let it be what it was. But even all the other judges had their helmets off at some point. Well, not all of them, but at least the girl that was with him, she had her helmet off, through a lot of the film. So it's like, it depends on the actor. It also depends on the character. But for TV, it's boring as hell for everybody to be in masks all day long. It just is. Most actors aren't going to want to go for that.
I would rather read a book about, those super teams we get assembled on like bootleg toy packages, with like Spider-Man, Batman, Shrek, and Lightning McQueen. I would rather read that than the Inhumans.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So guys, all right. So what would you say, like, what would be some reasonable expectations? Because I know a lot of people back in the day were saying, oh, the X-Men suck because they didn't have the blue and yellow spandex. And hell, Hugh Jackman even had a line about it in the movie. Or, some people, bitching about Spider-Man and his suit being accurate or not being accurate, whether he has organic web shooters or mechanical ones. What would you find to be a reasonable, healthy balance to a lot of this stuff?
Whatever makes the most money.
That simple? Just
whatever
makes the most money?
I think
even if it isn't accurate?
The first X-Men movie came at a time when, Blade was a different kind of comic book movie because, it was a vampire hunter, so it's not, a superhero. But X-Men was really the first movie outside of, like, Batman and Superman that was a hit and was worth a shit. But, at the time, people are thinking literal spandex translations, so that's why they did these black leather suits. But as time goes on and we've had all these comic book movies where costume designers have had great ideas of how to take these from the page and adapt them to live action, I think I did like the costumes for the most part that they had at the end of X-Men Apocalypse. And they were pretty comic book accurate for like Cyclops and Mystique and others, so maybe they'll use stuff like that for Dark Phoenix, but I do like to have that sense of comic book accuracy because I really did like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but it's a shame we never ever got him in the costume. And I mean, Josh hates when I make these references, but hey, if Axel Braun can make an adult film parody and put an actor in
wow.
I cannot believe we're going here right now.
No, I'm just saying the costuming looks good. If a guy in Burbank or whatever can take costumes and make them look good, why can't Hollywood?
Because those costumes are not on for very long. I know what he's saying though. I know what he's saying because a lot of
he's not wrong. That
exactly.
Costuming is actually quite good, ridiculously enough.
Again, I'm agreeing with that. I'm not saying that the costuming isn't working, but there's an issue with that too though, because it's like, okay, you take that again. Like I said, they're not on that long for a reason. The problem is if you took that exact same thing and put it in a film and have the X-Men show up on Liberty Island the same way they did in the first film, under the cover of night, Wolverine's going to stand out like a sore thumb. Jean's going to stand out like a sore thumb. Cyclops might get a pass because he's wearing dark blue. It's just one of those. It works because it's more quote unquote stealthy and tactical and all that other sort of thing. I had a conversation with Kevin Eastman years ago. And it was like I even asked him, I'm like, dude, Turtles in the original comics were like all red masks. What happened? He's like, look, toy companies want to be able to sell extra toys. So that was the design change they decided to take for the cartoon. It makes it easier for kids to tell them apart, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I'm with you. I love the original red mask design. I even told him Raphael's my favorite because he had the original look. But it's like there's certain, there's certain what is the word I'm looking for? There's certain things, basically sacrifices that have to be made for the greater good of the project. And Wolverine's yellow spandex, though it might look cool in a porn parody, I honestly, I can't see that. I can't see sitting there looking at that for 2 hours.
Right. I mean, as far as like the balance though, Ken, I mean, you know, for as much hate as the DCEU gets sometimes, aside from the Flash, all of the costuming has been on point. It's looked
absolutely
spectacular on screen, but it's been comic accurate enough. And it's been, you know, for the most part, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Iron Man suit is as comic accurate could be.
Yeah.
In the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, I mean, say what you will about those films, the costuming that they did for Spider-Man was just as straight out of the page as could be.
I'd make the argument that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man costume was probably the most accurate that we've ever seen.
It was.
I mean, as far as from the eyes, from the webbing, the way it was laid out, that was the most accurate we've ever seen. Homecoming was almost like a blend between the John Romita Senior Spider-Man that Stan Lee did back in the 60s with kind of like some race, like black racing, you know, stripes or something like that on it.
Did y'all hold on, but y'all forget about the one Ben Reilly costume that had the stripes on it. Was it Ben Reilly or was it Spider-Man? The one like after
the Ben Reilly Spider-Man one with the like the web shooters that were like a bracelets or something like that?
And not the well, yeah, that one, but it was like it had like stripes on the outside. It was a blue and red costume. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me, in a sense. But even that in the end scene, that felt like more of that costume than anything when he was talking to Stark at the end of the movie.
Hell, let's not forget that Peter's original costume, his first costume that GQ was alluding to back in the pre-show, was almost an exact rip of the Scarlet Spider costume that Ben Reilly had. So I mean, there is that.
Well, right, they needed another toy. He made that point already. They needed another.
Need another toy. You're absolutely
exactly.
right.
My favorite costume was the one from Amazing Spider-Man 1. But two points to what GQ said. One, the costumes stay on and they have strategically placed zippers. Two, didn't they use the all red masks on the cover of the original NES game too?
Or
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
for TMNT, yeah, I believe
they did.
Yep, that was weird, but
still,
it's probably because
one of the hardest NES games ever.
It was a difficult game. I think here's the other thing, as far as real quick to wrap it up, as far as the spot on adaptation thing. If you had spot on adaptation, Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie would be the most unbelievable thing we've ever seen, because they're not going to let a bunch of high school students anywhere where there's radiation actively going. A lot of films just are going to fall down in the modern age because of their original stories are just from a different time. So, I mean, people got to understand that sometimes these stories have to change to keep up with the times and to be somewhat believable. I don't care if they're comic book based or not. You got to have a little bit of realism in there, because otherwise it's like, dude, really? I'm sorry. You're taking me too far out of my suspension of disbelief to buy this story.
Right. Well, thank you for that last word, GQ. Appreciate that. We're going to get ready to wrap this thing up. We've had a really great time entertaining you all for the past hour. We want to know exactly what you thought about the show, so why don't you hit us up on Facebook, join our discussion group. If you're watching us on Facebook, we have two of them, one dedicated to anime, one dedicated to pretty much everything else. We're also on Twitch. Josh, you were on there playing Tekken the other day. You look pretty good behind the sticks, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna bust them out tomorrow as well. So
yeah, awesome. We have to get you and GQ kind of matched up, get you to mix it up a little bit. What you think? You intimidated or not?
By GQ?
Yeah.
I've played him in Street Fighter. If we were playing Street Fighter, I'd be intimidated. But Tekken's my jam. So.
Oh, you heard that, did you, GQ? What you got to say about that?
This should be fun.
Yeah. Hey, all right. Why don't you? Thank you for joining us, my friend. I appreciate you being on.
It was my pleasure. Do it whenever I can.
Awesome. Hey, Super Nerd, what you gonna be up to this week, dude?
Reading some comic books. Actually, I got some more books I bought. Right now, I'm currently reading Southern Bastards Volume 2. Such a great book. Football, violence. Only time I actually like football is through a comic book. That's because the the coach is a criminal. So I don't give a damn about the NFL. I don't watch sports.
Right. Well, anyway, for me, if you want to see me next, I'm going to be on Twitch on Thursday, hosting the second week of our brand new anime club. We had a great time watching Berserk last week, so make sure you join me on Twitch at 11 p.m. Thursday. If you want to head over to our Twitch channel and you can sign up for the event there. But anyway, for GQ, for Super Nerd, for Eric, and for Josh, I'm Kenshiro. We'll see you guys later. Hope you have a great week.
Peace.
Peace out.